So it's December 28th. We're up here with John Bull near Cottage Grove, Oregon. And John, briefly tell me about what happened and when it happened.
Gosh, I don't even remember the exact date now. There was a whole group of us that decided to come up. My friend Chris and I, and our friend Michelle, and William, my buddy Justin, and I think someone else came up, I don't remember. And we were all coming up to the area. We were thinking about putting a feeding station here or something, see if we can get something going. And so we went out to some fruit right up there in the tree line. And we were out here looking, and it got dark. We got here just before dark, and it got dark while we were getting everything set up. We were standing up here on this little knoll, and you could hear something down in the brush here. And it was a full moon. The moon was like up right over here, so everything was shining down. This was all just lit up. It's really cool. And inside the tree line, you could see stuff moving. Like further down is where we saw a lot of it. It started out down here where you can see how it kind of drops down and stops and then continues on. Right at the bottom of the drop there is where we first started seeing stuff. Like it would have been right in where the green starts inside the tree line there. It would have been about where they were at to start. And then you can see it moving up. But when they started getting up into this area, we could catch eye shine because of the moon. And there was red eye shine and green eye shine. And we were thinking, wow, that was supposed to be really tall deer. Maybe it's elk or something because they were really high up. Well, when they got up further, you can see right here where there's like trees that are leaned over. Well, back down here where that one is stripped off at the bottom, back behind that, there's kind of a tree leaned over you can see. Well, I was standing over here with my binoculars, and you can see it a little better, and something kept moving back and forth in front of that tree that was down at an angle right there. And the sun, or the moonlight would shine on the bark of the tree, and then you couldn't see the bark. And then you could, and then you couldn't. Then I got to watching, you could see it looked like, Bigfoot, but it was the silhouette, and it was going like this. His hands were down, and it was going like this, looking, and then it would kind of lean like this, and that's why it would block the light. And I thought, well, maybe I'm just seeing something. And I didn't say anything for a little bit. And then pretty soon, Michelle says, do you see something down there? I'm like, you see it too? And he said, yeah. You can see the light being blocked. And he's like, okay, I see that too. And then we both started watching it, and then everyone else started seeing it. And then we realized there was one here, and then there was one further up to right in here, doing the same thing. And there was two more down below. And we were thinking, well, maybe we're just excited, but no, it wasn't elk or anything, because they weren't making the right sounds. I don't know, it's hard to explain. It sounded like someone sneaking up the hillside. And the four guys were standing here, and Michelle and I had moved down over into this area. And I was standing over on that stump with my binos, and Michelle was standing next to me, and we were watching down there. And we heard something up here, and we both stopped and looked, and you could see a figure walk across the road between the trees up there. And then pretty soon another one came across the road, and we didn't say nothing to these guys because they were watching ones down here. And so we stood and we watched this, and you could hear them moving off here in the reprod, just at the very edge of it. And they were over there for about 15-20 minutes while these guys were watching all this, and they kept, what are you guys looking at? Oh, nothing, just don't worry about it. And they were watching down here, and they had three down here, and we had two over here we were listening to. And then we started towards that direction, and they came back across the road together. If I remember right, they were together when they came back across. There was a bigger one and a smaller one. And then they started making their way back down here. I think this had gone on for about 20 minutes. And then I said, well, let's see for sure what it is, And I started down through here, and I got about over into where that slash has started right there, that little tree's in the slash. And Michelle's going, no, don't go any further, if it's big or something, it could be a bear or anything, it could come out and get you. And they didn't let me go any further, but you could see them step back into the woods, and they just stepped back just enough to where they stayed the same distance away, to where you couldn't get a really good look at them. And eventually they just kind of melted away down. We came back the next day, and we came up from the bottom, because you can drive down to a little road on the bottom off of this one. And we came from the bottom, and we worked our way up. And you could see where the tree was leaned over. We measured it. It was about 12 feet off the ground at the apex of where it was going across. And then at the bottom where it crossed the other tree, it was at about 4 or 5 feet. And that whole area was being blocked by a bipedal creature going back and forth like this, kind of peeking, trying to get a better look. So we know it wasn't something small because we went back there and measured it. And we left fruit up here, and like some of it got taken, but you know, anybody could have taken it. Any critter up here, there's bears and stuff. When that many people saw all the same thing, because in my binoculars when Michelle and I were looking at it, you could see the eyes of the one down here in the bottom, the big one, and you could see his eyeballs. I mean, there was a little bit of white, but most of it was the brown. I mean, you could just see it plain as day. You couldn't really, you could just see kind of like right in here, and the rest was like in the shadow, but the moonlight just kind of hit right here, and you could see his eyes and just the bridge of his nose right here. And that's what Michelle and I both saw. Michelle got real quiet after that.